Oh, hello. The word prolific comes to mind when introducing this episode's guest. We are talking to JB Blanc. And if you're a fan of video games, then you will know that name. And if you're anything like my sidekick, Jay, you may even gush and squeal a bit when you recognize of whom I am speaking. Jean Blanc was born in France, moved to Yorkshire in England, where he grew up. As a young man, JB moved to London to study acting at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts and do a shitload of theatre. He then shifted to Los Angeles, California in 2002, where he has continued acting in film and television, and has gone on, and this is where the prolific part comes in, to voice over 400 characters in nearly 300 video games. He still voices characters today, but has also become a voiceover director himself. JB has never met an accent he didn't like, or a baddie that he couldn't find a voice for. In fact, there hasn't been a more proficient voice actor named Blanc since a man named Mel first uttered the words,
Yeah. What's up, Doc?
Please allow me to introduce to you, JB Blanc.
We got the word from the man, so what do we do when we get the word from the man?
I think we go, Hot Toddy.
We do the theme music of Offstage Acting. Bum, bum, bum.
Hello.
Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
Gonna go offstage.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Offstage.
Offstage acting.
And we riff off stage. Like Hot Toddy.
Welcome to the Offstage Acting Podcast, your everything acting podcast.
Hello.
We're so glad to have you with us.
Thank you. Thank you for
Not
being
you.
here.
I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the audience.
I am too.
You're always. Why'd you say
I am
thank you?
too.
Why'd you say thank you?
Thank you.
Like,
Because I'm responding. I'm saying, oh,
so
also
glad
thank
to have
you.
you.
We're
So
both
glad to
saying
have you with us. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate
Okay.
that. Taking
Okay.
compliments all the time. Jay, good to
Yes,
see you,
Todd.
bud.
Good to see you too, Hot Toddy.
What's going on with you in the world of acting?
Oh my gosh, nothing.
Yeah,
Absolutely nothing.
that makes
Yes.
it easy. This would be a
Yeah,
short.
there's the
preamble.
answer.
Okay.
And cut. Yeah, we can. We're
Beautiful.
done with
and
this podcast.
scene. Good. We can just blow right through it.
Fantastic.
What's going on with me, you ask?
I do.
Also, mostly nothing.
Oh, okay. Wow, we're gonna get to our guest in record.
We're gonna get
time
record
this
time today.
episode.
Yeah. Doing some pickups on Mark Twain, the audiobook.
Oh yeah. Okay, so
I finished all that finally.
well done.
But I've still they're the little pickups. But after that, I will never in my life have to read another line of Mark Twain. So help
Wow.
me God, if I don't want to.
Good.
And at this point, I can't see a reason why. Delightful stuff. I recommend it. You can actually go already on, and they've got samples. I think they were giving it away for free, a couple of the titles. So
Wow.
to get the people reviewing. So you can go on Amazon and Audible and all those places. You can find. Look up Todd Kramer, and you can listen to me.
Fantastic.
Yeah, do a little Twain. So that's cool.
Wait, when is it like release?
They
know?
doing the whole works, so they're releasing them all in bits, but I don't know. They might be selling them all as one big. I don't know who would listen to it at this point, but
I'm sure someone would. They're doing it. There
Students?
must be an audience,
Are
just
they
like our
forcing-
show. There must be someone that listens.
oh,
There
the
must
same
be.
the same three people that listen to our show are going to listen to the audiobook.
Might also listen to the Mark Twain audiobook. Yeah, same audience. That's right.
Our guest
We've
is like,
cornered
wait,
it.
what?
We've got it.
I thought these guys had an audience. And then I'm also going to. This is just a little quickie. I'm going to. I'm gonna submit us for the British Podcasting Awards.
You're gonna.
I know.
Sorry, that's exciting. You're gonna submit us. We are allowed to submit ourselves.
Well, yeah, it's a money making thing. You know, they just
Okay.
want your 50 quid, and that's,
Wouldn't it be better if we got someone else to submit
No,
us?
it doesn't work that way.
It
It would be
doesn't work
better,
like-
obviously, if our audiences were like, "Hey, we recommend," and but no,
But
no,
no. Okay.
no.
Well, all right.
So
That's cool.
So I'm trying to figure it out. I think generally it should be like after a year of going, and we've only been going about 3 months now. So
Yeah.
but I'll put us out there, a little publicity for us.
Yeah. That's it's smart. You put us out there now. They'll be like, wait
Yeah.
a year. Then we'll
By
wait a
next
year,
time,
and
yeah.
we'll put it out, and we'll be like, we're the best. Give us an award.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Gosh,
remember
that's
us from
so-
last year, and like that. But
Yeah.
maybe if we pick up 3 or 4 new listeners, then I'll be grateful.
That would be
But,
fantastic.
We'll see.
That would be really great. To
Sponsorship
all you
deal?
listener out there, thank you.
We just want to say to our listener, hey,
Or
we appreciate you, buddy.
we really do. We really
Thanks for
do.
hanging in there with us. You'd be surprised at some of the people that listen. I get good feedback from some a selection of friends that I would have thought, you're actually tuning in. They go, yeah, we listen. We like the way you make fun of that kid. And I go, yeah, that's the best part. Best part of the show.
That's so great. God.
With the crystals.
Bring me back to
and
middle school.
Yeah. Yeah, being
God,
stuffed into a locker.
Yeah, put a chair
Wedgie.
put on my head. Yeah, fantastic.
Wedgies being thrown in a dumpster.
Yearbook tossed aside, ripped apart. No one wants to see my face.
Oh my God!
Aw.
Would you sign my yearbook? You're turning red. I think there might be some.
I would sign your yearbook, and you maybe would sign mine, but it would be destroyed by this moment by people who hate me. I got him to laugh, so it's
I feel like there's a special episode brewing of the Offstage Acting, a very special Offstage Acting podcast.
Special podcast where we talk about Jay being bullied for several minutes. It's a really great time. Everyone can read.
I was bullied. I was bullied, but it happens. It happens, buddy. And now I bully others, which I recommend that. Just
they do
way
say
to turn it around.
that the cycle of abuse, I think like 90% of the abused become the abusers.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's why I put you on. That's why I put you on board with us here.
He's
Anyway,
teaching me
speaking
to
of
become-
special episodes of podcasts, I'm excited. We got a coup. There's a bit of a coup.
a
Bit of a coup. Yeah, I was trying to land this guy early for a while, and he's so busy because he's so like such a
Oh, okay.
such a pro. And he finally, I can wedge a little time for you. I'll squeak
right.
out. He's a prolific actor. This gentleman,
Okay.
prolific. And can I give you an example of what I mean by prolific?
Please.
This is like crazy. So in typical fashion for me, I was a little bit busy today. Oh, Mark Beltzman's in town, by the way. I just throw that out there. I picked him up at the airport this morning. Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
the
Hi, Mark.
Beltzman. Those of you will recall Mark from episode 12 of our podcast. In town for a couple weeks. He's going to do some improv stuff here, some workshop, and then he's going on to Rome and Vienna to do workshops there and improv and stuff. So he's on his European tour, as it were. He's
That's
upstairs
awesome.
right now, crashed out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, JB's.
You're
trying to
housing
show us
him.
something.
You're housing the taco.
Yeah, it's insane. He didn't bring enough warm clothes. He's like, it's a little colder here than I thought it would be. I'm like, dude,
Uh-oh.
yeah, it's not Hawaii.
It's not Hawaii, bruh.
It's England in April.
Wait, okay, so tell me about
Okay,
tell
so
me about this
prolific actor, friend of mine. I worked with this guy, oh man, it's like 20 years ago on a film.
Wow.
Tristan and Isolde. We worked together. And
Mm.
he was great. We got along really well back in those days. It was one of my first kind of big projects, I think. I was in Prague, and he came in with a big, and it was a great cast. I mean, it was a heck of a cast. There was guys in there like, well, James Franco was the star. Henry Cavill's early days.
Oh, wow.
We're hanging with him. Dexter Fletcher, Mark Strong, who's
Jeez.
it was like that kind of cast and stuff. And
Wow.
and JB Blanc,
JB
who's our guest today. But so I was trying to prep like kind of last minute, quickly, because I had to pick up Beltzman at the airport and all this stuff. So I go to start prepping, and I was like, okay, let me just check. I need to grab his show reel and get his bio and stuff. I load that stuff up, And I get in. You know how IMDb has, like, you can go in and upload your video clips, your own.
Yeah.
How many video clips do you have on IMDb? I know you're on there.
One? I feel like everyone has one. It's just the show reel.
Yeah. Like, it's my show reel, and I think I have maybe a
Like a clip from a movie or something?
Yeah, or like I think I have my my video game show reel and some other
okay.
kind of like a couple, like my audio, like let's say my audio show reel and my video show reel.
Oh, you put that on IMDb too.
Oh
that's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah, do well if unless
Not a
you're
bad idea.
unless you're JB Blanc, who has, I swear to God, it says it said 99 plus in the corner when I go click on videos. It said 9. Yeah, it says 99 plus. I don't know what kind of people he's got working for him. Yeah, it's not him. He's got a team or something. And then you scroll down and it gives you 50 at a pop. So it gets 50.
You have to show more.
And then show more. Click show more. Another 50. Show more. Another 257 video clips.
Oh my God, that's what?
That's what I mean by
57 video
This is what I mean. This is what I mean by prolific. Well, they're all in
literal.
video games. They're all video games. Like the guy has
that's
done,
so cool.
Yeah, he's done such a wealth of characters. Insane. And then of course I went to his website and I see that he's also done a bunch of podcasts and people always grill him on all his characters, but he's done a ton of, and usually baddies. Like all the deep voiced crazy, you know.
Oh my God, he was on our. What?
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
I'm looking at his IMDb now. Right,
You're looking
right
at it now? Yeah.
Oh my God.
Probably. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I know Todd doesn't like it when I scream.
I know. Todd doesn't like it when you squeal into the microphone. No, I don't know.
Like a little piggy. Oh my God, this is so cool.
Yeah.
He's entertained. Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you're gonna see.
Yeah,
So folks are doing it right now. Probably also they're all going to IMDb. Going, wait, who? If you're a nerd, like a video game nerd,
Like
you will,
me.
and like you, yeah, you will. You'll know this guy from whatever video game you've ever played. I think he's probably in it. I've done a few myself, and they're great. But like, I'm not like just in. He must just be in demand constantly. And now, of course, he's also directing video games. So he's kind of the video game guy more than anything else, which is
Oh my gosh.
just totally cool. So without too much further ado, let's play his show reel.
Yes.
What you reckon?
Please.
All right. Now Andy's going to scream at me, remember the switch. So, okay, I got to do the switch, and here we go, JB Blanc.
You've been going over to football? American. Your Russian is excellent.
As is your English. Oh, no. I'm fine.
No, nonsense. Where I come from, this is like mother's milk.
I hate to meet your mother.
She was an icy bitch.
I am Luigi Vampa, a smuggler and a thief. You are such a fortunate find.
Why is that?
You provide me with a way to show a little mercy to Jacopo, that maggot you see tied up over there, while at the same time not appearing weak.
I find smuggling is the life for me and would be delighted to kill your friend the maggot.
Oh, and by the way, Jacopo is the best knife fighter I've ever seen.
Perhaps you should get out more.
I had to hear from him what he did, if he did anything.
What a range.
Tell you. He got this weird, ashamed smile on his face. He said, sometimes we make mistakes.
That's him. That's JB. Different each time.
Yeah. Like I made a mistake with him.
I realize I haven't been very entertaining. You're not like most women.
It's just that most women wouldn't tell you what kind of woman they are.
I'm not sure this world is ready for that yet, Mary.
A promise is a promise.
How?
Now it's all there, plus a little extra for getting me home. Now you need anything.
Alphonse
Anything at all,
Capone?
You just give old Al a call.
What?
All my friends do.
I don't think Alphonse Capone would carry a business card, but that's just me.
Goodbye, Mary.
Perhaps you may remember one of my most beloved passages from the Bible. Woe unto that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It had been good for that man if he had not been born.
A negative. 25 years old, 70 kilo, 180 centimeters. You smoke, you drink, you puff. It's time to go.
¿Necesitas protección, Gustavo?
So many
No lo me
forms.
habría imaginado. You show them empty hands.
They stole from me.
You take that with you, and you may make it all the way to America. But I promise you, you'll be traveling back through here in a casket.
I'm sorry. God, believe me, I am.
These people will not leave anyone alive who can possibly identify them. What is the weapon?
Water.
You need some water?
Water filter for an American reservoir. The poison that's inside me will be used to poison the water supply.
In what city?
First, you bring me my family here where I can see them. Then I'll tell you where.
I have no doubt that in the gin joints and roadhouses where you lot earned your first dollar, that effort would be acceptable. But on this stage, you are not shaking your peaches for vacuum salesmen. You must be goddesses. Where is your passion? Where is your grace?
You better find it, Audrey, my dear. Or I shall punt that cute little bottom of yours out of the stage door.
So what about the girls in New York?
I learned my lesson. I don't mess around with dancers anymore.
But Audrey was something special to you, wasn't she?
She had talent, and unfortunately
Nice.
a poor attitude.
Most men don't strangle a girl, rape her, and then dress her up when she says no.
What are you talking about?
Dear God.
What's this about?
Your father's a suspect in a series of unsolved shootings.
What?
He in contact with you?
He ran off and left me when I was 14. I had to go and live with my aunt and uncle in New Jersey.
What the hell happened to you?
You were robbed.
Yeah, I can see that. Do you have any idea how long it took me to fix this place up? You know what? Just get the hell out of here. My father, he said he was nothing when he died, less than nothing. But to me, he was everything.
Barry didn't know your father.
He wasn't paying attention to the movie. Just wanted to get inside your pants. Would have been fine any other day.
I poured more and more of my heart into it, you know? Thought if I just worked enough or changed enough. Then I found out that no, it's nothing to do with me. It's that girls' night out is actually Julia and Dan fuck night.
Yeah. Water pump. $200 for this heat.
I'll get you.
I heard you telling the cop back there about your hand. My old man was killed in Nam when I was a kid, and so I have the utmost respect for our servicemen.
Just serving my country.
Listen, if you need a ride or something.
My dogs are kind of barking.
All right.
Wow. JB, there he is, ladies and gentlemen. Small round of applause.
Done.
Look at this. Prolific. JB, prolific.
Old, I think, is the word you're looking for.
Wizened. Experience.
Jaded, harassed,
jaded,
exhausted.
Now, first of all, we get to hear
Just
JB's
a cup of coffee.
natural accent.
Yes, I don't get to use it very often these days.
Don't get to use it very often.
No.
You are a man of many accents. We're going to talk about it all. Why? First of all, why are you playing so many foreign baddies?
Because I have stop me in the airport looks.
Right. You do look a little dark.
A little like, he's not from around here.
Yeah.
This guy's, I don't know, he's from somewhere else. I don't know.
Which I think,
Yeah.
by the way, is a benefit for actors.
It is. I used to think it was a hindrance, but I think it is a benefit.
No, because it gives you so much more range in a sense. Like guys like myself and Jay, we're kind of stuck.
Oh, come on, you guys.
No, really. We're kind of stuck. The darker guys, because then you could play. First of all, you're French, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you want me to tell people that?
Sure.
Is that keep?
I'm not scared. I've been accused of a lot worse.
Oh my gosh,
I didn't want to.
your voice.
I didn't want to out you.
Oh, bless you.
French, born. I remember on the set. We met on the set of Tristan and Isolde. Do you remember?
Mm-hmm. Vividly.
We spent a lot of time. We did one thing.
I watched you get hung many times.
Hanged.
God.
Yeah, the proper.
Rarely have I had greater pleasure in my life.
Hanged is the proper, by the way. You, once you've been hanged, you learn that it's hanged.
I absolutely adamantly refuse to be taught English by Americans.
I promise you.
Oh.
Promise you it's hanged. I was hanged next to a hog in Czech Republic. We spent
That's
more
no
time...
way to talk about Rufus.
Rufus landed on me, by the way. Okay, so that's how I got to know JB. Early days. That was what, 20 years ago, man?
Yeah. I'm afraid so.
Almost 2018.
Yeah. No, I think it's
a long time ago, man. And I remember you sort of telling stories about. I remember one story was funny. It was like we were talking about language stuff because I was learning Czech essentially because I'd been there a few years and I spoke some Czech at that point. I was able to communicate with the crew and things, and so we were talking about language stuff and something about how they were, as you begin to learn the language, you think they're all shouting and stuff and that they're all angry because of the way that they speak. And a lot of the guys were like, what are they always barking? I said, no, that's just the way it sounds in your ear. But it's not actually how they are. And you said, I don't know, remember, you said, yeah, it's kind of like that with French. When I go see my family in France, they'll be shouting at each other across the table and stuff, and then you realize they're just arguing about cheese.
Yeah. I took a friend down to see my family, and we were at lunch, and lunch is always, something that takes some time and some consideration. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we're sitting around talking, and he suddenly turns to me and he goes, I feel very awkward. Should we leave? And as everyone was going, mais non, c'est pas vrai, la beurre, c'est la beurre. Mais c'est un goût de Normandie, quoi. Qu'est-ce que tu veux? And I was like, no, they're talking about butter.
Right.
That's how it is.
That's how it is.
Did you passionate about butter?
What is there like a specific part of France that you're from?
Well, I was born just outside Paris, right outside Paris, but my family from the southwest, about an hour and a half northeast of Toulouse. So it's on what's called near the Massif Central, which is the kind of central mountain region in France. Mm-hmm. And they were, traditionally proud peasants. My family had a wool mill, and they made handmade woolen duvets and mattresses for 5 generations. Oh. My dad retired about 20 years ago and sold the mill. Wow. But it's still a place I go to a lot, and I love that area. They call it La France profonde, which just means sort of deepest, darkest France. It's France as it used to be. The
real France, yeah.
It's a real France.
Profonde, yeah.
And it's a really beautiful part of the world, and not somewhere I grew up, but somewhere I very much feel a strong affinity to. And whenever I get there, my shoulders kind of just relax, and I just feel better. I'm going this summer as well.
It feels so it feels like home. And
but I wasn't in France very long. I left France when I was 3 or 4.
Right. Huh. But you went back often, obviously.
Yeah, all the time.
Summers and things all the time. Yeah,
all the time.
And your parents are both like, they are profonde, français profonde.
My mother is very, 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 very British, which is why the marriage to a Frenchman didn't really work out very well. But my dad is very, very, very French. So my father, he talked like this. He has a big booming voice where I got my voice from. Yeah. And well, what do you want?
Merde. Like this, yeah. I love to make fun of the French. What? That's pretty good, isn't it, JB? You know what? And it dawned on me. He just made a face. If you're listening, you didn't see his face. He got something. No, that's how he likes it. So let me ask you this. I realized I don't know your name. Is it like Jean Broussard Blanc?
Well, you're not far off. It's Jean Benoit. Jean Benoit.
Jean Benoit. Okay. I was like, wait a minute. I didn't get it. Actually, no. Do you tell people? Is it always JB?
Yeah, if they ask. I mean, I've been JB since I was 4 or 5 years old.
Yeah.
Oh, so wow. when I moved to England, then the English looked at my name and went, "I'm not touching that, mate. It's foreign. That's foreign. That's Jean Benoit or something. I'm not gonna, no, we'll call him JB.
Yeah.
That's easier.
So your parents kind of get divorced.
Very firmly get divorced. Yeah, there's no kind of. Yeah,
they kind of get divorced.
They get divorced big style,
big time. And your mother just says, "All right, I'm going back to England."
Tucks me under her arm and leaves in the middle of the night. And I actually didn't really. Yeah, I didn't. I saw my father, I think, once or twice before I was 24. because he went off and he moved to Africa and went to live in Cameroon and work for Avon Cosmetics over there. And so I didn't see him. And my mom wasn't keen on me seeing him for some reason. I mean, he's a lovely fellow, but it was complicated. You know, emotions run high.
Yeah.
I'm big on forgiveness, and you know, what happened, and feelings were feelings. But I since when I was 24, I was like, this is ridiculous. I don't know my dad, and I wrote to him, and he said, oh, give me a date. I'll send you a ticket. Come and see us. I met my French brother and sister for the first time.
Wow.
Yeah, and we've gotten on like a house on fire ever since.
How old were you when that happened?
24.
24.
Yeah.
Wow. And who instigated that?
Well, I wrote to him. I wrote to him and said, this is insane that I don't know who you are.
Yeah.
And he said, well, le remedy, as they say in Germany.
Yeah.
And so I went over and I looked at him and went, oh, now I get it.
Right.
I'm you. This is, you know,
Wow.
I wasn't, I had, you know, some interesting run-ins with my mom, and she's very conservative. My dad wasn't so conservative, being French. And I just related to him very, very clearly. I love my mom and we get on fine, but it was just, it just helped slot things into place for me. Because you know, I grew up in a country that I didn't really know. I kind of had to learn proper English to go to school. I had to figure everything out, and listen to actors. Always turn your phone off before you do an interview.
Yeah, that's a good tip.
Just put that one out there.
Remind.
That's what a professional would do. So clearly, I'm not one. Cheers. So I grew up being an alien. You know, I was.
So when you come to England, you come. So where did you come back to England to?
So my mom's sister lived in North Yorkshire, which is halfway between London and Scotland, as you folks know.
Yeah.
And she lived in Harrogate in North Yorkshire, which is a beautiful Victorian spa town.
Yeah.
And so we stayed with her for a bit. We lived in a tiny 2-bedroom apartment on a Hampthwaite Road in Harrogate. We were broke. My mom had no job. Well, she got a job as a paralegal.
Okay.
Because she was a trained secretary. And I used to like come home from school, and I'd walk from school to hide under her desk until her boss left. So I remember crouching under the desk reading books.
Really?
Yeah.
Because she wasn't supposed to have you there?
She wasn't supposed to have me there.
And she didn't have a babysitter. Somebody.
No. I mean, she was making £10 a week. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Wow. And then she met a guy and remarried, and when I was about 6.
Okay.
Who turned out to be my stepfather.
That was like your stepfather. And was that a good relationship?
Dreadful. Absolutely dreadful.
Right.
He was a very sick man. He was a manic depressive and an alcoholic and very violent, and towards me particularly. So you know, hence why you become an actor.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we all have many of. I know that story.
Well, we were all talking. I mean, I heard you talking about being bullied at school, and that's, you know, I was absolutely. I mean, I
bet you were.
I was a foreigner, effectively. I had darker skin than everyone else.
Yeah.
I was sometimes called the N-word, would you believe? In England,
Wow.
in the 70s, it's a very rough place, you know, and not many people of another ilk around, certainly not up north.
Yeah.
And so anything that, as you know, with kids, anything that draws you apart or separates you out is going to be attacked.
So were you like a little French kid, essentially?
I wasn't. I mean, I spoke English, but I looked French. I felt French. I felt like I was from somewhere else. I just did.
Where did you pick up the French language from then?
From my
your first language,
home.
essentially.
Yeah, that was my first language.
But you moved here when you were 6 or 5 or 6.
3 or 4.
3. So,
Three or
but
four.
you
So I was
didn't
pretty
keep
young.
the French. Yeah, you didn't keep the French.
And then I forgot all my French because I had to be I had to disguise anything French about myself.
Yeah.
And then relearned it at school. And I remember my teachers going, "Where did you get that southwestern accent from?"
Right.
Because they have it's almost like Quebecois. They have du veux du pain, du veux du vin. It's like a wine instead of vin. It's vin. And so I had this. I relearned French with this southern accent, and then my teachers were like, "Well, we don't teach that."
Right. That's a good student. But you were going back down and seeing your father's family.
Later when from about 7, 8, we'd go down. We'd drive down because we'd never had much money, but we always did driving holidays. So we loved France, and we'd go down to the south of France. We'd stop off at my grandparents' place, which is where my dad was born.
Yeah.
And where he still lives, and he lives in a village just above the house in which he was born.
Right. Okay.
Wow. Yeah. It's very trad around there. You know, people stick around. And so we'd visit, but I was always a bit like,
who are these people?
I'm a foot in either camp.
Yeah.
Not feeling much of a sense of belonging.
Yeah.
But now I feel very strongly about that area. My grandparents have both passed, but I feel very connected to that place.
Sure.
Always have
It's
been.
in the DNA.
It sure is.
Yeah. Okay, so now you're being bullied in Harrogate.
I mean, I ate occasionally and went to the bathroom sometimes.
Yeah, okay. You had some kind of a life, but it wasn't all terrible.
You weren't just eating knuckle
No,
sandwiches.
in many ways. I mean, in England at the time, it was thought that to better oneself, one needed to send one's kids to boarding school.
Yes.
And so, age 7, I was packed off to boarding school. My mum inherited some money from an auntie and decided the best use for it was to put me through boarding school. So I went off to an English prep school, age 7 years old, and I remember looking at my kid when she was 7 and thinking, how do you do that? I could never do that to my kid.
Yeah, for sure.
But it was thought that was the best thing to do.
For sure. I know plenty, living here in England now for 13, 14 years, plenty of people our age who that was done to. And yeah, like you said, at an age where I have children, to look at a 7-year-old and go, Mommy loves you or Daddy loves you, bye.
Yeah.
Come visit on weekends. Like,
now, in many ways, it was a refuge from my stepfather, who was he started kind of turning when I was about 9. But so it was that. But then I would go there, and that was you thought I was bullied before going to an all boys boarding school.
Yeah.
And so
you learned to be tough.
You learn to be tough, and I learned to be funny because that's what got me out of trouble. I learned how to do impressions of people and teachers. And that got me out of a lot of situations. Yeah. And so I think that's where the sort of the match was lit, really.
Yeah. That's the beginning.
It's an old story.
Was your first? Yeah, it's an old story. I think we share it. So when did the first theatrical experience or true acting experience happen? School play.
True acting. Well, yeah, school plays. I mean, that's where I started.
Christmas pantomime.
That kind of stuff. Third Shepherd when I was 4.
Yeah.
No, but later. I mean, there was a tradition in boarding schools of putting on plays, and I think it's so funny because those boarding schools were so conservative and so strict and so reductionary and almost humiliating in terms of the way they educated in loco parentis, in the place of your parents, is that's the phrase that was used. And yet they were big into theater and music, and I was a singer, I was a chorister, and so I trained as a singer young, and trained as a classically trained singer. So within these very conservative places, there was an exposure to arts, and which seems to have gone from a lot of our state education now. And so, I think we started doing like Gilbert and Sullivan operettas and stuff where most kids start because they're easy to cast. There's lots of parts for everyone.
I am the very model of a modern major general.
People get to do a bit of singing and all that stuff. And I'm being very careful here because I just swear instinctively as a human being. But yeah. So that's where it sort of started. And then when I went on to my secondary school, which was another boarding school up on the Scottish border in Cumbria, which was founded in like 1555, a very old rugby school. Again, in this very conservative environment, there were these little revolutionary English teachers who said, wanted to do plays and stuff, and we'd do challenging stuff. And I had one English teacher who, when I was about 15, he was like, there's a thing called the National Youth Theatre. I think you might be an actor. And I was like, that's something you can do as a job?
Yeah.
And he went, yeah, no, you can do that. I mean, it's trouble, but you can do it. Why don't you go and try and audition for the National Youth Theatre and see what happens? And I got in.
Big deal.
Yeah. I got into their course, and it was run by an amazing British actor called Douglas Hodge, who's quite a big name over in the UK. And we did this. We did a dramatized version of Venus and Adonis, the Shakespeare epic poem. And we were building, it's about a lover who's killed by a boar, and we built a boar out of human beings, and it was all very physical. And I was just enraptured. I thought, this is amazing. What's this? This isn't, I thought acting was, punching around going, "A wandering minstrel I." And then suddenly there was this visceral kind of, we can build things out of people and we can be things that we aren't. And it's all about imagination. And I'd spent a lot of time alone as a kid, and imagination and fantasy was what it was all about. And so I said to Doug, "What's drama school like?" And he went, "It's like this." And I was done. I was like, that's what I have to do.
Wow.
And I'd sort of not pursued all my educational outlets and stuff. And I went home we just started ringing drama schools, and they were all done. They were all done for audition season. So I was in late 16s going into 17. So I needed to audition for the next year.
Right.
And they were all finished. And then I rang RADA back a couple of times because it was the only one I'd heard of. And then they called me and said, "We've had a cancellation on the last day of auditions.
Okay.
Do you want to do it?" And it was 3 days away, and I lived in Yorkshire.
Yeah, right.
and because I didn't know any better, now I'd have gone, "No way." But I didn't know any better. So I went, "Sure." Because I was cocky and young and full of dreams.
Yeah, full of dreams.
And so we were doing Henry IV Part 2 for my A-level, and there was a piece of Hal's from that. We had just done a production of an amazing play by Edward Albee called The Zoo Story, a very famous play, which has a fantastic speech about Jerry and the dog in it. And then I was a trained singer, so I had an opera aria up my sleeve, and equipped with those under my elbow, I went down to London and auditioned for RADA. And it's a long, rigorous process, and it's insane. I mean, like 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people a year for 25 places. There was only 25 places when I was there. It was still in George Bernard Shaw's old house, which he'd given to RADA 100 years before.
Oh.
And it was just that. There was now it's extended, and there's all kinds of different properties around, whole buildings around London and stuff, and they do degree courses, and none of that. I mean, I have a diploma in acting, which is excellent for nothing but toilet paper. And so I was suddenly into RADA, and somehow I got in. Went through the whole, because you go away, you come back, they do a workshop day, and there's several stages. And I was in, and the first thing they said is, "If you think you're going to be famous, there's the door. See you later."
Right.
You're probably not going to work. You're going to deal with a lot of rejection. This is going to be the hardest thing you'll ever do in your life. But if you're still game, we'll teach you what we can.
And that's when you went out the door and never turned back.
I never came back, and so I became a council worker, and I'm not really sure why I'm here.
Yeah, well, I wanted it's a story of actors who didn't make it.
I should have been on the waste management podcast, which I
yeah, that's exactly. So now your life is a garbage man. Okay, nothing against garbage man.
I got ducks in my pool. I don't understand. I'm in waste management. I don't get it.
Yeah. Okay. No. All right. You did make it into RADA. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. That's awfully nice of you. It was 35 years ago.
Yeah. Well, you earned it. Now, you must have kind of fallen into your element there and felt, okay, I'm in a place where I should be.
Only an actor would understand that. Yeah. I'm suddenly surrounded by people who think like me for the first time in my entire life.
That's what I'm getting.
Even amongst my close friends in the village, because I grew up in a tiny village next to a farm in Yorkshire. When we moved away from, I skipped that bit, but I literally lived in a village where entertainment was flicking cowpats at your friends and tickling trout in the local stream. And your parents used to say, "Get lost until it's dark." And in England, that's 10:30, 11 o'clock at night.
In the summers,
and they just, it was very much a kind of idyllic in a crazy way.
Yeah, back in those days.
But the first thing you wanted to do was get the hell out of there. So, when the day you turned 17.
That's what I'm picturing, this kid, this little French kid, for lack of a better, and who's out of place pretty much from age of 3 until 17, 16, 17?
18, now, when I went into RADA, I was 18.
Boom.
Just turned 18.
Man, 15 years of just feeling like...
Feeling better, yeah. I mean, I had great friends and stuff, but it was all like, it was all, you know what it's like. No one understands what an actor really does. Everyone thinks that we're incredibly confident, and actually the reason most people become actors is because they didn't want to be themselves when they were kids. I hated myself. I had parents who told me I was nothing, would amount to nothing. My stepfather put me down endlessly and beat the shit out of me for 11 years. And I mean, my mum would buy me clothes and he'd throw them out the door. I mean, it was bad. It was really bad.
Right.
And so to be surrounded by people who were supportive, caring, had the same interests as me was completely like
creating
revolutionary.
a community, creating a group. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? That goes into your veins like heroin. You get addicted to that kind of feeling of belonging when you haven't belonged all your life.
Yeah. And
this
rest
isn't a pity story. This is just circumstantial. This is what everyone goes through.
Listen, JB, this is why we got a podcast at this point, because I want to, the idea is to get people to understand this is what actors really are. And that's why your story is.
You're storytellers.
Here. Yeah, we're storytellers, but we come from a kind of a different ilk, as it were. And when you do find, and that's why I can relate when you first connect to that community of other outcasts and misfits who all got together at some point and found each other through this, and who are talented, extremely talented, which is
ridiculously talented. I mean, insane. And there are a lot more talented, much more talented actors than me that quit and didn't follow through or didn't finish RADA. Or it's a hard business.
That's that. Now we're talking about the business end. So, how quickly did you understand what was necessary for you to be, to make it? They tell you there's the door if you think you're going to be famous, but you were dumb enough to go, I don't know what I'm going to be, so I'll stick through.
Yeah, I mean, my lack of talent was extremely committed. I wasn't very good at all. I was very bad. I mugged. I came from school acting, and they tell you, everything you think you know about acting, we're going to tear apart and rip apart and destroy, and we're going to rebuild you in our image. Effectively, that's what drama schools kind of did it back in the day. Mm-hmm. I think that now that students have become customers and not students, that it's about raising money, that it's about that this is the problem we're seeing in colleges across America, is that students now have the right to dictate the way they're taught, and so therefore any respect for faculty or teachers has evaporated and gone. And I think it's a tragedy, and critical thinking is dead, and that's why we're in the trouble we're in. However, different story. But I wasn't very good, and I was nearly thrown out because I was, I didn't know my bum from my elbow. I was like, it's very hard to learn how to be other people when you don't have much life experience, although I did have more than most kids probably. But also you don't know who you are very well. And so your starting point is kind of skewed. And so getting inside the soul of another person is something that feels very alien when you're still trying to fix yourself and figure yourself out.
Yeah.
And so I was probably too young to be at RADA. And not only that, I was moving to London from a tiny village in Yorkshire. I mean, I hadn't seen a lot of black people. I hadn't seen a lot of gay people. I hadn't seen a lot of different people to me.
Yeah.
And there I was immersed in this, ice bath of reality, kind of going, and then the city of London, which smacks you in the face the second, especially in the 80s.
Yeah.
The
size of it,
there was a lot going on.
The pace of it. Yeah.
And at the time I thought, well, why can't I just get this? But now looking back, I'm like, no wonder. It was,
it was fair enough.
Really
similar for me. I went to LA at 18, and it was, I was
and
more
chew you up.
Yeah. For university, but I was more enticed and entranced by the pace of the city and the size of things, and being on your own even, and that kind of stuff. First time as an adult, like I'm responsible for so much here. Difficult. When did it finally kind of click for you?
It still hasn't. I mean, I'm still figuring out. This is what I love about being an actor, is that you can never sit back and go, well, I know how to do that now. You can never do that. It's like golf. Tiger Woods can shank it into the trees, and I shank it into the trees every Thursday. It is something and that's part of the attraction, I think, is that, and part of the secret to longevity, I think, is that every single thing is a learning opportunity. And now that I'm directing it, every bad actor teaches me as much as a good actor does. If you're open and willing to learn, and I am, because that's what we're here for. We're sponges to take up experience and to become better people through the experiences that we live, hopefully. And so I remember like standing on a stage years after leaving RADA and going, that's what they meant by that. Right. I see. Yeah, I get it.
So it was after RADA that you came
RADA. I was lost.
Okay.
And obsessed with the kind of an inevitable teenage desire to get drunk and laid as much as possible, which is what happens when you're a student at the drama school. If you're me and an idiot. And so that became more of a it was like how was I? So that's all survival mechanisms. It's all trying to figure life out. but when I came out of RADA in 1990, and there was a global recession. Thatcher had done a number on England. I crawled out of the poll tax riot because that was if you remember that went off. The National Front turned up, but it was a very political time. Yeah. And there was no work. My mum was sick, and I went and looked after her for a bit in Yorkshire, and then I came back, and there were a group of students who were getting a theatre company together, a group of students from Lambda and a group of students from RADA who were kind of, let's just do something. Let's create a company that means that young actors who've left drama school have somewhere to go and practice their craft, a fringe company, no money. So we wrote and we begged, and people like Ken Branagh and Emma Thompson gave us money, and we built a theatre in a basement in Paddington, and we painted it black, and we put up lighting rigs, and we begged, borrowed, stole, got whatever we could for donations, and we built a theatre and started putting on productions. And one of the first productions I did was a play called The Lizzie Play about Lizzie Borden, an American production.
Yeah.
And so, written by an amazing writer called Deirdre Strath. And we put this thing on, and it was physical theatre. It was something that I was like, we were compared to Theatre de Complicité. We had great reviews. It exploded. We did national tours. We did all kinds of stuff and sold out. And but it was a gothic horror.
What was the name of the company?
It was called Arts Threshold.
Okay. And the
Arts
theatre.
Threshold.
So that's the same as the company.
Yeah, it was kind of, this is your step into the business. And I had a mate from RADA who was, not really fussed about acting and wanted to direct, and he directed the Lizzie Play, and he was extraordinary. He had a really extraordinary vision, and that fellow, and we were so poor, man. We were smoking like single strand roll-up cigarettes, and we all had holes in our boots, but it was like class war, theatre, man, theatre. That's the answer to everything. Screw Thatcher, theatre's where it's at. We all looked like Fagin, and the guy who directed that play was a fellow by the name of Rufus Norris, who never really amounted to much other than being the artistic director of the Royal National Theatre.
Yeah.
So
wow.
It's kind of, you're getting old in the business when people start doing things like that, and you go, oh, that was my mate from we toured the country to get. Wow. Amazing.
How many years did that last?
Well, like all good fringe theatre companies, it depends on the goodwill and the hard work and dedication of a few people, because everyone turns up wanting a piece of the action, but they don't want to make the coffee and the cupcakes for the halftime show and clean the theatre and maintain it and all that stuff. And you get tired. And then I started getting little jobs in regional theatre. So I worked at Stoke and some other places, and started, being able to earn some sort of money, just barely anything in theatre, because you can't live off theatre. But again, it was very romantic and penniless and exciting.
Yeah,
and,
looking back.
I was happy to be figuring it out. I had friends who were being, my year at RADA was Marianne Jean-Baptiste, who was nominated for an Oscar for Secrets and Lies, like a couple of years out of drama school.
Wow.
Sophia Canedo. James Dreyfus, who was doing very well. My buddy Stephen Beckett. There were some people who were doing some really great stuff.
Yeah.
Adrian Lester was the year above me.
Oh, really?
It was kind of it was Dave Harewood was a couple of years above me. He now runs RADA. And so it was but I was always very. And this is why I tell people, don't ever be jealous of other people in careers, man. Everyone's path is different.
Yeah.
And some of those people that were working all the time back then aren't working anymore, and I'm 55 and still here.
Yeah.
And I think that's the secret of success, really, is I'm still here and I'm happy. I'm still there.
Yeah.
So regional theatre was, a tough gig. There's a lot of people fighting for funding, and it's hard, and the public, you sort of want to put bums on seats, but you also want to do good work, and it's tricky.
How many years was that doing regional?
Well, that was sort of 4 years of the fringe stuff, and then a couple of years, 2 or 3 years of regional stuff, and then I auditioned for the National Theatre. They were doing Mary Stewart's, we called her Moira Stewart, Mary Stewart, the Schiller play.
Yeah. Okay.
And it was Anna Massey, who's theatrical dame, and Isabelle Huppert, who's a French film star.
Yeah.
Amazing actors.
Yeah.
Both from completely different worlds. who hated each other.
Oh,
Yeah,
drama.
I have fabulous stories from that period.
Oh.
But yeah, so I was, third sad git from the back,
You got in on that show, though.
I was understudying someone, and they went off in the first previews. I had to go and do previews in the opening night as Lord Kent. Yeah, he did his back in, and Seymour Matthews, his name was, I think, so I had to do, I had bits with
So you're thrust up on the stage, like
I was thrust up on the stage. Yeah.
Were you prepped? Were you ready? Had you
I
done
was,
your...
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it was more than your life was worth not to be.
Yeah, for sure. That's your hope.
But it was, it was Tim Pickett-Smith I was working with, extraordinary people. The National Theatre is an unbelievable place.
Yeah, I bet.
Because you run into everyone. You buy a pint at the bar, and Ben Kingsley's next to you, and Tim Roth's over there, and Gary Oldham's over there. And
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The best in business. Wow. So what an experience. How long were you doing stuff with the National Theatre then?
I was at the National for 3.5 years.
Wow.
I did about 4 or 5 productions. And culminating, as I thought, an opportunity came up to work with Peter Hall on 2 Greek tragedies in full head mask. Peter Hall, for those of you who don't know, started the Royal Shakespeare Company, used to run the National Theatre. One of the greats of theatre, but by the time I got to him, he'd largely given up, and it was kind of over. And we had full head masks that you opened up and put on your head, and we were doing a lot of I'd done a lot of physical theatre and stuff, and a lot of devised interesting physical stuff. And so it lent it very well. There's an amazing, incredible dance company who, if you don't know, you should look up, called DV8. DV8, great name, DV8. Incredible dance company, physical theatre dance. They crossed the borders between dance and physical theatre, and it was dancers from that were training us in the movement for the Oedipus plays, as they were called.
Right.
And it was, I was, God, I guess I was 26, 27, 28, somewhere around there. And it was like, oh my God, I'm going to work with Sir Peter Hall. This is incredible. And it was one of the worst experiences of my entire life.
Why?
Well, we opened in Greece, in Epidavros, in a 15,000 seat amphitheater, which is an incredible experience. However, the site was closed during the day because it was a tourist site. And so we rehearsed all night. So we turned our clocks around. And then you sort of crawl back from rehearsal, lie on the beach, drink Metaxa with your friends, and then sleep until the evening, until you had to go back to work again. But it was, we were sort of told that it was going to be our kind of piece, that we were going to devise and define it. And I think Peter had kind of pre-programmed all of it. And I think I felt very duped. He was very manipulative. He was, at one point in previews, there was a piece where we came back to the Olivier Theatre at the National and ran it for 3 months there, which is a long run for something that you feel that lost in.
That you hate,
And during rehearsals in Greece, he would sit at the top of the amphitheater. I mean, playing to 10,000 people was a trip.
Yeah.
And taking the mask off in a curtain call was the closest I'll ever come to scoring a goal for England, because the crowd just goes, wow, as soon as they see your faces.
Really?
Yeah, it was an extraordinary experience. That side of it was great. But he sat with a god mic going, no, that's not what we rehearsed. Go back. Stop. This is terrible. and you're just like, you don't really care about us at all. And, at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, there are very weird things that start happening. There was an amazing actor called Colin Hurley who was a Buddhist, and I'd never seen him angry in my life. And one night he just this is effing, ripped his mask off, threw it on the ground, and lost his crap. And it was like, whoa, there's something. And it was like this amphitheater was behind the burial grounds of Delphi. It was an extraordinary place.
Yeah.
And so at about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, it was like very odd things started happening.
What were you doing at 3 o'clock? Why were you out there that late?
That's what we were rehearsing.
Oh, because everything.
We dress rehearsed all through the night.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, those were the only rehearsals times we could do. So, and then you
got angry and threw the mask down.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah. And then suddenly you open, and people come out of the hills, and boats pull into the harbor, and people just arrive from nowhere to come and see these amazing pieces. He's done a few of them over the years, and that was an incredible experience. But by the time we came back to London, it was like everyone just kind of gave up. It just wasn't the show we thought it was. Yeah. I remember, because if you bring people to evening shows, if you have friends in the evening shows, you can take them to the bar backstage, which is an incredible place because that's where all the people hang out.
Yeah.
And so, it's stargazing galore. But it's very familiar and very casual and very easy and very, it's very much people are at the relaxed because it's an inner sanctum inside the theatre that no one from the public can go to. But if friends come to matinees, you take them front of house for a cup of tea after the show before your evening show. And I'm sitting there with some friends halfway through between two shows of the Oedipus plays. And there's two ladies from Edinburgh sitting at the table nearby. And one of them says, "Did you enjoy that, Muriel?" And the other one replies, she goes, "Oh, no, dear. Quite the reverse." Which is a sort of fantastically succinct version of what I was feeling about doing the play.
You caught it.
Not follow the 5 block rule.
You caught an ear of that. Huh? That's good. Wow. Okay, so now when does JB get out off the stage and get like an agent and start going out for?
Well, there's a bigger story to that too, unfortunately. It's been a colourful career. When I was done with the National Theatre, I was bereft. I'd fallen out of love with acting.
Okay.
That's what Peter Hall can do to you. I was like, I'm here getting abused. I feel he was very bad to me over one particular situation. He was just brutal. And this, purported nurturer of actors could frankly go and jump in a lake. But I was living with my teacher girlfriend, living off her by and large. Even at the National, you didn't make great money. It was a capped wage. London was getting more and more expensive and gentrifying left, right, and center. It was very hard to make a buck to even pay my bills.
Yeah.
And I was doing this, and I was being offered sort of very lower middle scale roles at National. I was like, I'm not going to ever get out of this. I'm not going to be one of the stars. I'd learned a lot, and I'd come a long way, and I was figuring stuff out. But I was like, I don't think it's going to get much better than this right now. And a friend of mine had a web design company and said, "Look, why don't you come and work for me? I'll give you a salary and a car." And I was like, yeah, like an idiot. I said yes. And I went and did it. And I because actors have very high aptitude. We have to learn things very quickly. And I learned I was selling within weeks. I was selling web strategies to the BBC. It was very early internet. The BBC and British Telecom and Channel 4 were clients. And we were doing, we were one of those new media agencies that did kind of flash animation for the first time that had ever been seen. Right. When websites stopped being brochures and started being interactive entities. This is
1998.
This is around there, 97, 98, 99, yeah. And I was in it wholeheartedly. I had the salary, I had the car, and I wanted to kill myself. I was miserable. How long
had you been?
2.5 years.
That's a long time.
It's a long time, 2.5 years. I actually get emotional thinking about it because I walked away from the thing I loved most in the world, and that's really hard. And then this is a remarkable and true story. I came home from the office one day, and I was sitting there just going, what the hell have I done? I'd broken up with the teacher. I was living with a friend in Hampshire in the countryside, in a cottage in the countryside because it was cheap and I was broke. And then I came home and I sat down on the couch and I was like, what have you done? What have you done? You went to RADA. You had fire in your belly and passion in your eyes. This was your life and you walked away from it. You've lost your agent. You lost your contacts. You've lost everything. How the hell are you ever going to phone ring? And I picked it up. I went, hello. Hi, I'm looking for JB Blanc. I said, yeah, this is JB. She said, hi, JB. It's Priscilla John. Do you remember me? And I was like, yeah, Priscilla, I remember you. She's a massive casting director.
Yeah.
And I'd met her, I don't know, 5 years before. She cast me in a TV show. The only TV show I'd ever done, London's Burning. Do you remember that?
No.
London's Burning is a show about firefighters.
Okay.
She said, are you still working? And I went,
it's funny you should ask.
Yes, I am. Yes, why? She goes, there's this movie, The Count of Monte Cristo. The director's coming into town. I thought there might be something in there for you. Do you want to meet him? And I went, yeah, Priscilla. Yeah, I'd love to. That'd be amazing. Thank you. She said, okay, I'll give you a call later on. We'll sort it out. You come for lunch. And I put down the phone and I just burst into tears. Wow. I just collapsed. I was like, that was the most religious experience I've ever had. That was as close, even close to that, where I was in despair.
Yeah.
And the phone rang and reached out and said, "Not quite yet, mate.
Yeah.
Not quite yet."
And the Count of Monte Cristo is really where you broke out.
I'm still trying to break out. I met Kevin. We got on like a house on fire. And he, interesting, because you'll know by living in England, no director ever tells you you're a good actor. That would make you arrogant.
Right.
And so he was the first director who said, "You know what, man, you're a good actor." Kevin's great. He's really dry. He's from Texas, as you know.
It's Kevin Reynolds.
Your stuff in the movie's great,
Yeah.
man. And we just like, he's like, "You're a really good actor, and I want you in my movie. I don't know where I'm going to put you right now, but I want you in my movie." And so originally he wanted me to do, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but he wanted me to do Luis Guzman's part, but I was on paper, I was nothing. I was not a number. I had done nothing. I'd never worked on film or anything.
Yeah.
So I couldn't get that. So they gave me the part of Luigi Vampa, which is the slightly overweight, largely massively overweight pirate you see sitting on the beach in my showreel. And we shot that in Ireland and Malta, and I was hooked. I mean, it was unbelievable. Unbelievable experience. I met Guy Pearce and some of my best friends, a guy called James Frain, who I'd worked with I'd done a few days on a movie called Shadowlands, where I got to watch. This is when I was 22, because Dickie Attenborough was chairman of RADA, and he got some students from that to help out on Shadowlands, which is about students at Oxford. And I got to sit and watch Anthony Hopkins work for 3 days solid. And the scene I was in got cut. So that was my first lesson of the movie industry.
Mm-hmm.
But there were a couple of other people that I met on Monte Cristo, and I was just, and it was with Jim Caviezel, a very interesting character.
I mean, that's a hell of a way to start your movie career. Amazing.
Yeah, and I had a great little part.
Yeah.
And also, I think,
and you got great reviews too. I think a
little bit. Yeah. I think, largely I benefited from the fact that the two lead characters had been in prison for 14 years, and we'd only been watching them, and suddenly I pop up, and so everyone goes, "Oh, new character! Thank God for that." So
Right.
I think that was a lot of it. But yeah, amazing experience. And then when that was done, Kevin said, "Why don't you come to LA and have a look? See what you think. Come and stay and see what you think, and just have a look, because I think you'll do really well."
Okay, that was Kevin did that. Kevin Reynolds, by the way, this is the director of Robin Hood, Waterworld, famously or infamously, Monte Cristo, and Tristan.
Waterworld's a great movie.
It is a great movie. He's a great director. He was a good guy. He's a great guy. So he invites you to LA and says, "Come check it out."
Yeah. Have I got has the internet gone funny?
No, you're all right.
Am I back? I'm good. Okay.
You're back, baby.
I think I'm back, baby. Yeah. So I came over and I thought, sunshine, palm trees, a career, and also, I could call people up and say, "I'm in the Count of Monte Cristo," and they go, "Great, can I take you to lunch?"
Okay. Wow. Free lunch.
And in England, they'd say, "We're not meeting actors right now." Boom, the door would slam.
Right.
They were allergic to meeting new talent in England. It was the thing I completely did not understand about English casting directors. It was like, get your clique and put them in everything.
Yeah.
And very rarely were people hungry. There were organizations like Hubbard's that were more forward thinking than that, but it was very difficult to get into them. I was just another number in England. In America, I was
exotic. Yeah.
You were exotic.
Okay, so you're in. You head to LA as a test of your strength and prowess as an up and coming actor, right? And you're getting free lunches. People are inviting you to the Ivy, and you're taking full advantage. Is that right?
Well, I just thought, I'd come out of a big relationship. The company, ironically, that I was working for had gone bust, and so
the web company.
Yeah, and because it was run by a fool, and I thought, what the hell have I got to lose? I'll get whatever I can together, and I'm going to go. I just went, and I had nothing.
Was that a pack? Was that a pack everything up and go, or just go with a rucksack?
I put everything I had in storage.
Wow.
Okay, I'd shed a lot of my life because I want to come out of this big relationship. I was in a 6.5-year relationship that ended.
Yeah.
And so I kind of stored stuff in friends' attics. Some of it are probably still there. But I just, I think coming from France and being in England and not really feeling rooted made that move a lot easier, because I was kind of rootless anyway. And so I was happy to be wherever I was going to be, and I'd try and make a go of it. Now, it was a close shave. I remember sitting after being in a year in LA and sitting on my bed and going, what was I thinking? This was a terrible mistake.
Right.
But more interestingly was, I came out for the time that Monte Cristo was going to come out, which I think was like November. It was going to come out in November, December. It was going to be like a Christmas release. And I came out to LA in 2001, and I came via New York because I wanted to see friends and do the tourist thing in New York, which I'd never done. So I did that, and I did the Circle Line, and I went up to one of the towers, and I did and I arrived in LA, and 10 days later, 9/11 happened.
Wow.
Okay.
And I'd literally just been in New York, and the world changed. The movie was pushed to the following year.
Yeah.
Everything stopped, and I was like, okay, well, I'm here. The country is radicalizing in a way that I never expected it to.
Yeah.
Bush is,
Yeah.
prevalent. The industry is just going, what?
Yeah.
And I was like, do I stick it out, or do I go home with my tail between my legs? And I very nearly went home with my tail between my legs, and I decided to stick it out and just grind through. And then a friend of mine was working on a British. They needed British voices for a dub of a Japanese anime. And I'd never even heard of anime. I didn't know anything about it, but I went along, met them, did some reads. I'd never done any voiceover. I'd done some corporate, they called them CD-ROMs back in the day, corporate voiceover stuff for the web design company, believe it or not. And then I got a job on this anime called Helsing. And they got me a visa to be able to do it. The little company sponsored me. So it was about a year or so before that happened. And then there was another little anime job, and then there was another little anime job, and then I was in a session for an animated series because I was good with the dialects, and I could do different voices, and I could do different things.
Yeah.
Were you making your rent at this point?
Yeah,
through these jobs,
but rent was $800 a month. It was easy. I had a courtyard apartment in West Hollywood for $800 a month, and I sublet from another fabulous actor, Alessandro Nivola, who's a friend.
Yeah.
And so life was fairly cheap. I went to Rent-A-Wreck and rented a car from them.
Right.
I could basically manage. And then I got into another couple of animated series. I was in Naruto and Bleach, and at the same time, video game voiceover was just beginning to be a thing. Because previously they'd kind of got Janice in accounts to do a voice, or Bob in marketing would do a voice. There's a great website. I think it's called voiceatrocities.com, and it's like the early days of video game voiceover with like Silent Hill 1 and stuff. And
That's
it's like,
hilarious.
Mary, there is a door. We should go through it. And you're listening, going, how?
Anybody. They didn't even think about actors.
Amazing.
It
I'm going to stand here and read the lines.
Oh my God, that's iconic.
So what I didn't realize was that RADA, loads of theater experience, all of that shit I'd been doing, had stood me in such amazing, that training I had, very few other people had in this town.
Yeah, for sure.
And so technically I was in a really good place, and suddenly I became like people wanted that.
Right.
And if they could get 6 accents out of me, I've done games. I mean, I did a game last year, a couple of years ago, called Hogwarts Legacy. I did 28 characters.
Wow.
Because of the range of dialects you can use and different ages in every dialect. And so, it's like that's a given.
Wow.
And so that started kicking off at the same time, and then I got an episode of NYPD Blue, and playing a Greek guy from Astoria in New York.
You see what I mean? You can play any swarthy ethnic type.
I figured if I could fool NYPD Blue, which is one of the most authentic shows on television, ironically shot in LA.
Did they think you were somehow actually Greek?
I sold them on it. Yeah. I mean, I was told to go in the accent. I refused.
Did you go in as JB Papadopoulos?
No, I just went there. I said, "Learn. I'm JB. I'm British. I'm an actor, and this is what I do." And then,
I switched into that guy who said, I don't understand, and they were like, that.
Oh, he's
and
perfect.
So I thought, oh, this can work.
Mm-hmm.
And if I figured if I got away with it there, then I saw that there was a future. And I had management that was like, well, I'm not going to put you up for an American role. You're not an American.
Right.
And I was like, no, I'm an actor. That's what I do.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be able to be whatever I need to be. That's my job. And the sort of, when casting directors got here and sort of went, so theater,
what is that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and now, God, theater actors are in demand. They love them. They get it. They understand.
Yeah.
But then it was honestly, people were like, I don't really get theater. You don't have anything on the square box.
Yeah.
I can't relate to that.
Yeah.
And so, and I had nothing on
Can't
camera
watch
apart
it.
from Monte Cristo, which was a good sell, but it wasn't amazing.
It wasn't everything, yeah. So when did you kind of understand that and how did you get to the point where you realized you were a voice artist? Because that wasn't certainly something that was trained.
No, I've never, I don't like the term, they use the term voice actor. I don't like it because it's acting.
It's
it's just another form of acting.
Yeah.
And I've been asked, I need a moment. I've been asked in interviews, do you ever do any legitimate acting?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that makes me
They ask
crazy
that.
because I'm one of those few, I'm very, very, very lucky, and I've worked very, very hard, not to denigrate that, but I've worked in every aspect. I've done film, television, animation, talking books, commercials, whatever you can think of, all kinds of theater, experimental theater, educational theater. I've done experimental, physical theater. I've done everything, commercials, whatever the hell. Voice acting is one of the hardest things you'll ever do in your life because you're completely free of props or any kind of help or the other person or the script before the session. Most of the time you walk in stone cold.
Yeah.
I played Bane in Arkham Origins. It was a giant game. I did not know what character I was going in to play. I didn't know what the game was when I turned up for the first session.
No.
And I walk in there and Troy Baker and Roger Craig Smith are standing there and I'm like, hey guys. And they're like, hey man, how are you? I said, what's this? They're like, you don't know? I'm like, no. He's like, I'm Batman. He's the Joker and you're Bane. And I was like, what? What? Okay. And then in those 10 minutes, you have to come up with a character you're going to be playing off and on for the next year.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
And so you've got to make some really critical decisions about the voice. And for Bane, we took him right down here and we made him Latino and he's very intelligent. But the thing about Bane is he's a giant dude who's very smart. And so I had to come up with that. And then that's set for, so, I mean, it's a really, really difficult gig. And during strikes and stuff, they've always said, oh, well, you guys just walk into a booth and talk. But like all things that take a lot of skill, people are very good at it, make it look easy.
Yeah.
But it's really difficult. It's really difficult. It's the hardest thing I've ever done.
And you were in on the ground floor, in a sense.
I was very lucky to be around at the right time. But, again, the goodness of strangers who became friends. I was doing an animated series. It was a kind of dubbing in from an Italian animated series called Gormiti into English. And I'm standing and we're doing it as a group record, which is very rare in voice. And there's this tall blonde guy standing next to me and he goes, hi, I'm Troy Baker. Who are you? And I said, oh, my name's JB Blanc. And he said, you're really good. When did you get here? I said, I don't know, a few weeks ago, man, not long, a couple of months ago. And he said, yeah, I just got in from Texas. Do you know this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy? And I was like, no, I don't know any of them. He said, you need to know him. I'll introduce you.
Nice.
Wow.
And so Troy Baker got my career started in video game voiceover because he put me on the radar to a bunch of
others
of directors. And
Troy Baker is a huge name. And Troy Baker is huge. He's
probably one of the biggest voice actors in the world.
Yes.
Now, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, he was Joel in The Last of Us, the original Last of Us.
Yep.
He's in Final Fantasy. He's done everything, and he's huge.
But back in those days, there wasn't even any agents necessarily that were handling that kind of work. They didn't understand it.
It was agents who were handling. This is why we get a lot of commercial guys and promo guys. People who do trail voices in a world in a land before space and time. All that stuff.
Very good,
and they kind of do promo reads whenever they play a character. And so we had to break out of that. And so it was kind of undefined. And also actors, and to a certain degree, some of them still are, although they're idiots because this market is bigger than film and television combined. Actors would kind of turn their nose up at video games. Video games, please. I'm not a nerd. I'm not doing that. Well, at your peril, because I've made a lot of money doing video games. I've done over 300 games. And so...
wow, that's over $300.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I had $1 a game. I'm just doing the quick math here, but
and you don't get residuals from games, so it's about being prolific. So that's what I was driving. That was my driving force: be in as many games as you possibly can.
Sure, definitely.
And now that's changed a lot because now every mother and their son wants to be a voice actor. They want to, they
especially
really
after
want
COVID, because that's when the only thing that was available to an actor to do. During the COVID.
Yeah, and when we got flooded with, and I've been directing now for 12 years or something. You get a lot of dross as well sometimes. It's a tough business. And you need to be able to really understand how this microphone thing works and how character is achieved, and it's very physical voice acting, which people don't realize.
Yeah, for sure.
It really changes. How you play a character really. It is affected by your physicality and by how grounded you are, what training you have, how your breath work is, all that kind of, because acting is fundamentally breath. And so bizarrely now I've sort of become an actor, a teacher, and a director at the same time. So I now guest teach at workshops and try and help people figure out how to do this, because I don't think the game market is going anywhere.
I think it's a safe bet. And it's
AI might disagree, but
AI can't do what we do. AI. Okay, so Count of Monte Cristo, and then Kevin calls you back and says, "All right, I got a new film called Tristan and Isolde. Come to Prague,
starring Todd Kramer.
and meet Todd Kramer.
Meet the Todd
Kramer. Speaking of scenes getting cut, invisible in that movie.
You and me both. Me too. In that movie, I go, and it cuts away.
Yeah, we had a bunch of stuff in that movie. It was fun. Bunch of weird. Remember the weird costumes? The animal
skins and stuff. Yeah.
The animal. Which animal were you?
In the forest.
Yeah, when we were we stole some stuff. I think I was like a bird. I remember being some kind of bird and like doing a chicken dance for Dexter Fletcher. I looked like I was standing outside of a fried chicken restaurant with an owl's head. We were all in costume. We were Tristan, James Franco's band of merry men, and all that stuff got cut.
That was another stroke of luck because unfortunately James kept damaging his leg, and I was one of 4 or 5 actors who'd been filmed going into scenes and coming out of scenes that hadn't been shot yet. So there were about 5 of us that got put on hold at full money and sent back to Los Angeles after the 4th time that James did his leg. So that helped me get married, get a house. When I was literally that set me up in LA.
Yeah, you got SAG rates on that. I got local higher rates on that.
I know. Well, that's part of the reason I went to America, because after working on Monte Cristo, I was like, I can't get paid. On the Count of Monte Cristo. The Count of Monte Cristo is a big movie that never stops playing.
Yeah,
I don't see a dime in it.
And you got your.
I was on a British Actors Equity buyout. I was on it for 6 weeks, and I made £6,000.
Yeah. 1,000 a week, for sure.
And I get stopped in the street on a daily basis.
For why? Why would they stop you?
Because people go, Count of Monte Cristo.
Oh, I thought you meant they stop you and tell you pick up that rubbish that you dropped.
That too. That came later when my career really took off.
Did they stop you for directions? Hey, do you know how to get to Universal
Studios? From that film, and it's like and actors go to me, so Count of Monte Cristo was playing again on HBO. I'm like,
wow.
Not a dime, I'm afraid.
Yeah, where's my check? Go back. Yeah, that's the whole thing. Maybe actors don't understand that. So if you're in the States and you have SAG, and you're SAG with the union, the SAG union, their Screen Actors Guild, you get SAG contracts, and you will receive proper compensation for your work, including residual payments. Residuals meaning
less so these days than before.
Yeah, but residuals don't really happen anymore, right?
They do. They do on movies, and they do on network television. Streaming is an issue. It's kind of difficult. So I'm in a show called Barry, and even on Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, I didn't make very much in residuals.
Yeah.
Just did a show
Well,
called
that's
Barry
what
on
the
HBO,
strike
and
was
that's
about now.
nothing. Yeah, I mean, it is.
Saw
And
that
and
changing.
again, you know, it was all a bit too little too late.
Yeah.
But that's how the companies play it. They're like, well, streaming, I don't know if that's going to really be a thing.
Yeah, we can't
CDs,
really. I like how
don't
they say we can't
DVD,
clock
I
how
don't
many
think.
people are streaming
Yeah,
that. You go,
they know when you fart on the internet. So
yeah,
they can track every
they can track
single
every
dime.
click
So
on
it's
everything. What are you
nonsense.
talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's nonsense.
the whole thing's a bit of a. Can we? You mentioned before about. I wanna see if how. You struggled with weight.
Yeah.
On and off.
Yeah. Still do.
Still do. How much of that sort of influenced the work? And I know personally it affected you and does probably still. I don't know.
Sure.
But in terms of the work, some of the guys you play are bigger, and some of the guys are not as big. And
I mean, it's who I am when I'm there. You know, I mean, it's become much less of an issue because it's just who I am, and it's stood me in great stead. You know, it's given me some really great parts.
Yeah,
I'm
they're
not
called for
necessarily.
the big
Yeah,
guy,
and,
big guy
you know,
parts,
and like anything, you go through phases where your life is complicated and the stress. I had a terrible marriage, a difficult divorce.
Yeah.
What people don't realize is that in about 2008, there was a writer's strike.
Yes, I remember.
I lost my house. I was getting divorced.
Did you?
I was incorrectly investigated for 3 years of taxes by the IRS. As a
wow.
result of my marriage, I was over 200,000 in debt, and I lost absolutely everything. I was at solid rock bottom. So having started this career and gone, oh, this is going to, and it just went, it literally got shut out of the sky.
Yeah, that's 2008 during the writer's strike.
The Great Recession of 2008.
Yeah.
I bought my house at exactly the wrong time. The value
Right.
fell out of the bottom of it. We couldn't make our bills. We couldn't do anything. I was married to someone who couldn't stop spending money, and it just very, very quickly spiraled out of control. And so since then, I've really been climbing back up the ladder, building that back up. But that'll do a lot. That'll do a number on you stress-wise, you know. And so my health suffered, everything suffered. But at that time, someone turned around to me. This was a producer at Warner Brothers, Karen Fishman, who I will never forget. And she said, we're doing this game, Shadow of Mordor. It's based on the Lord of the Rings, and we want you to direct it. I'd never directed a game. I directed some theater and stuff. I've been doing a lot of voice work for them, but I think because of my training and because I think she just saw that that's something I could do.
Right.
You directed Shadow of Mordor?
I directed all the voices for it, yeah.
Nice.
That was the first video game I directed. So I was straight, it was like a
EZJ.
AAA title right into my lap, which was nuts.
Yeah, that's huge.
It was nuts.
And that's a groundbreaking. When was this then? Around that time, 2009?
Around 2008, 10, yeah, 8, 9,
Yeah.
something like that. I think that's when it was, you know, you start recording, it takes 2 years or something to record sometimes.
Yeah. So that's a shift for you in career-wise.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, I was still very much
acting,
an actor. I still very much am, but I'm not. I just it's now it's not as fun. We'll get onto that, but it's not as fun as it used to be. And it's much harder. And so that was then there was a Lego Batman Beyond Gotham, Lego Batman 3. I directed that. They wanted me to direct that. Then 2K got hold of me, and I did XCOM 2, and then I did Mafia 3. Warner Brothers came back with Shadow of War, and then I'd been doing voices at Blizzard for a long time, and Blizzard is a big company with a lot of properties. They do Overwatch, Hearthstone, Hero of the Storm, World of Warcraft, Diablo, StarCraft. They've done a ton of stuff. And they asked me to come and direct for them, and I'm still directing from them. In fact, right after this, I'm going to direct sessions on World of Warcraft and Diablo 4. And so I now direct everything that Blizzard does. And then I direct Fortnite, and I did a bit on Horizon Zero Dawn, and I played one of the lead characters in Horizon Zero Dawn. I do have a nice line in Father Figures that get killed shortly after the tutorial. Seems to be my role in life. Who's that really interesting
Sean
Father
Penn.
Figures? Oh dear, Sean Penn. I'm Sean Penn. Short down, but I don't say bastard as much. And so the video game thing kicked off, and that was what saved the directing thing. All that really meant was consistency. Yeah, I had consistency because you're in there for weeks, and I didn't screw it up, and I wasn't a DICK to work with, and that's one of it's a lot of the big secrets in the business is like, don't be an
That's right. Don't be an ass.
Don't be a knob. It's, you know, people, it's not just the casting, it's who am I going to spend the next 3 months working
That's
with?
right.
Yeah.
And can I be in a little booth with this person for 3 months?
Yeah, and are they going to be malleable? I mean, you know, when I approach something, I think a lot of actors go, well, this is my role and I'm putting my thing. And I'm like, no, you're collaboratively telling a story with another group of people.
Yeah.
And when I'm approached to direct, I say, look, this is your game. I'm not here to put my bent on it. I'm here to offer you the benefit of my experience and to be able to translate what you want to actors, because I speak actor. I'm really fluent in actor.
Yeah, the actors love that, by the way.
Yeah, and also, you know, not all actors. I think a lot of actors think they can direct, and it's a very different game. It's a very, very different game.
True. It's true.
And I just kind of took to it. It just fit, and it changed my life. I was so much happier. I was engaging with people. I was in the business of acting without having to sort of wait for some beneficent TV producer to give me a shot. Which is very frustrating because it's the waiting game, and it's also soul destroying because it. You know, I always say there's all these things that are designed to make you fail in this business, and all you really have to worry about is what's on the paper in front of you in that second. Everything else is designed to destroy you. Ignore it. I'm too fat, I'm too thin, I'm too tall, I'm too blonde, I'm too black, you know, whatever the hell it is, it's all irrelevant. It's all irrelevant, because if you're good, they're going to cast you. They'll change the role if you're good.
Yeah, that's true.
They will.
They'll rewrite things, to work around you.
And no one ever didn't get a part because they fluffed their lines in the audition either, so don't worry about that either.
Right.
You know, it's just it's all the things you learn from experience.
Well, I'll tell you, you're looking at two very malleable voiceover actors here who.
That's why I'm here. I get it now. Now I understand. You're not interested in me at all.
No, but I will pass along my information. And I represented.
No, we're very interested in you. Can you look
go
at
ahead,
stuff?
Jay. Here you go, Jay. Okay, so JB, are you American now?
I am a citizen. Yeah, I'm a dual. I have both.
Yeah, so am
English
I.
and,
so am I.
Yeah.
It's fascinating that you ended up there and I ended up here, and swapsies. Yeah. And Brits in general are always interested in getting to LA. There's
have you seen what you get paid in England?
Yes.
The union is,
or don't get paid in England.
About SAG. People complain about SAG here, and I'm like, you're crazy. This is the strongest union I've ever been a part of.
Yeah, of course.
And the one in England just isn't the same.
I'm actually a branch officer for my for equity here.
Yeah, but it's tough. It's tough.
Tough.
Because it's built on a very old model, which is the theatre model, and it had a lot of trouble kind of adapting, and it's been asked to encompass everything.
And there's also a law against us being able to go on strike here. For equity, which is like we're trying to change some of that. Yeah, but that's a slog.
It's insane. Yeah.
But by the same token, stuff gets brought here that might not otherwise be available. So there's that trade-off because you go, well,
no one's shooting anything in LA,
right?
Shoot here.
And so a big commercial comes through, and I know that commercial, if shot through a SAG contract in the States, is worth $80,000 or more on a Super Bowl, something, blah blah. And here you're going to get $12,000 maybe. But if if it wasn't cheaper, they wouldn't bring it here. So the opportunities, there's a little bit more for some of those things. But I think it's interesting that they suck the great talent out of this country and package it. And
a long history in England of setting people up in order to destroy them. Seriously, it's how the press works there. Well, it's how the tabloid press works
totally, yeah. The tabloid journalism.
They need a target, and so they create one.
Do you recommend though to Brits, let's say, just for our audience's sake, because we do have presumably some young aspiring actors, particularly from Britain,
that'd be nice,
who think about L.A., Hollywood. Is it recommended at this point? What do you think?
It's changed a lot since, and I missed the one of the golden eras. The 90s was cooking in LA, and I came here after the 90s.
Yeah, I was there in the 90s.
After 9/11, things changed. Things went much quieter. The writer's strike happened. I lost a big movie deal. It's part of the reason I lost my house. Nowadays, we were supposed to be in the golden age of television. Because of streaming went nuts, but actually it means they don't do 22 episode seasons anymore. They do shorter seasons. You're employed for less time. You're harder to recast because you've just been in that. A lot of the companies kind of, they're not allowed to say contractually that they want exclusivity on your role, but they kind of do that in business practice. It's tougher to get a job anymore. It's just harder. And by the time someone like me gets in the room, there's already an offer out to a name for stuff that's really not that big. And so occasionally you get lucky. And you know what you do, what happens is you build your fan base of casting directors. And I've got a couple of casting directors who are fans of my work and usually try and bring me in. But like this show, Barry, which if you haven't seen, I recommend. It's not because I'm in it, because it's dark as hell and it's really, really funny and really good show.
Oh, Barry,
it's with Bill Hader from Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
And
I haven't
Henry
seen it,
Winkler,
but I like him.
from
oh, he's great.
Happy
Yeah.
Days.
Yeah,
who's
great.
amazing. Plays an acting coach, an LA acting coach.
Okay.
Who's a charlatan and brilliant.
Stephen Root's in it. Yeah.
Stephen Root's incredible.
Yeah, I love him.
Some really good people. An amazing actor called Anthony Carrigan, who's relatively new on scene, but he was in Gotham and other stuff. He's not that new, but he's been around for a while. Very, very funny.
That's an HBO.
Why was
thing.
I bringing that up? Yeah, I mean,
maybe because the money was decent.
Because I was going up for something else.
Okay.
And the casting director went, "Oh, can you hang on and can you come back in 3 days and audition for this other thing we're doing?" And I was like,
wow. Cool.
Now they did Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, The Walking Dead, The Handmaid's Tale. They're big casting directors.
Yeah.
And so I said, "Well, I can't because I'm directing. But how long have you got now?" And she said, "I got like 15 minutes." I said, "Give me 10 with the script." And because of voiceover, I could bang through the scripts and go right, tick it up, beat. I could scan it, remember it. Went in, we did the tape, and I got it.
Nailed it.
Wow.
And that's just experience, and I'm very comfortable with those people. That makes a difference.
Yeah.
But it's
yeah. You could ask for that time and ask for that opportunity.
You could work your ass off for weeks and never get it, or you can just instinctively walk it. And so it's a very up in the air business. Anyway,
there's a good example though of like when that opportunity does come, having the backing of training, experience, and being ready for that. When that window opens or the door opens, you go right through it.
And also, I mean, I'll give away a little trick here as well, because the scene was on the telephone, and it's about the big heavy coming from Chechen. He's a Chechen gangster.
Oh, you play these games all the time.
He's coming.
This is your wheelhouse.
Yeah, he's sort of the main villain's boss.
Yeah,
and he's coming to sort him out because he's screwed up. And so there's a call from the airport saying that he's arrived and he's on his way, and this is supposed to make the guy poop himself. And I was like, oh, I've got another audition on a phone call. Am I going to do this thing where you do the phone call? And I was like, I'm not doing that. What else can I do? What else can I do? And this is all in the 10 minutes that I've got to look at the scripts. And I'm like, what have I? He's come from Chechnya and he doesn't know what time zone it is. Great. Okay, so I did the whole scene like going, problem is, Hank, you decide to go with Bolivians. This is very bad for us. It shows you're disloyal to the family. The family does not like this. Anyway, I am at airport of Ontario. We'll be there in 15, 20 minutes. And the guy shoots it, absolutely craps himself. But I used this, that was like, what time zone am I in? I've got a distraction, so I'm not really
give you
on
a
the
little
phone call. But
busy.
I've got the lines kind of hoping that they're going to come out.
Sure. It gives you an opportunity to make a little pause in between too, because you're focused on something else.
Yeah, some kind of action. That's
Genius,
absolutely right on there.
Yeah, and did that? And then when they said cut, did they go? He's not looking at his watch. I didn't. Well, that's not in there. Why did you make? Sorry.
Not for a second,
no.
They go,
okay.
They go, what a brilliant choice. I was like, it wasn't a brilliant choice. It's all I had.
Yeah.
And then you go to the wardrobe fitting, and the costume designer goes, "Oh, you're the guy who did the watch thing. That was clever. That was good." So, it wasn't a watch
instinct
thing.
Or intelligence.
Just instinct and desperation.
Yeah.
What have I got? What have I got on me right now that I could use?
Yeah.
I could have been counting change. I could have got some money out and gone, what are these notes? Or something that was playing against what I was doing. That was then interesting to watch.
But that's exactly the kind of thing that somebody at an airport would be doing, trying to sort something out that's of the
how
traveler.
much more interesting to be threatening and disoriented and confused at the same time.
Yeah. Just as a means of
Because
and doing regular daily business.
If in any given, I say this to actors all the time, in any given audition, play duplicity if you can. If you can play two things at once, then you're showing that you can act. In the old days, it used to be we all used to do pieces.
Yeah.
And you didn't want a piece that was just the same emotional pitch all the way through. You wanted to see 2 or 3, or if possible, but even just one emotional change where the direction went shunk like that halfway through the piece, so that you could show that you can act, you can change, that you've understood the emotional path of even just a small scene. If there's 2 things going on in one line, or 3, there are often 4 or 5 things going on in one line. Play with that. That's interesting to watch.
Thank you.
Sorry, waffle.
No. We like the tips for sure. Yeah, that definitely.
Just the tips.
So just the tips, just for a second, just to see how it feels. I took it all the way. I went with it.
Sorry, nobody noticed. This could be cool.
So tell me about this, because I was watching, it's one of these things that also happens when you're an actor is you turn on you watch a movie and then a buddy pops up. And so you were talking about the Chechen. What was the one with the arms dealer, and you were, I think it was not Serbian, Albanian guy.
Yeah, that was War Dogs. Yeah,
War Dogs, great movie.
Yeah.
And then you popped up and you were the poor taxi driver.
Yeah, I was their sort of fixer in Albania. Yeah,
Yeah.
Jonah Hill and Miles Teller.
Yeah.
We shot in Romania, which is not Prague, and it's not Budapest either. It's
Right.
Bucharest, and very different, very communist bloc still, very massive problem with gypsies. Very interesting place.
Yeah.
Wild dogs still walking around everywhere. It's just mad.
Oh.
But it was perfect for the absolute kind of Eastern European dump that we needed for the show.
Yeah.
And it was Todd Phillips, of course, pre-Joker, but that was a great experience. Really, really fun. I wasn't on it for very long. I didn't have very much in that, but
no, you were great. It was just one of those things that pops up, but I saw it and then I was like, JB's doing these heavies a lot, the Eastern European heavy, and you've sort of cornered the market on some of that. I don't know if you find that there's a reason for it other than you just look and you can do the kind of accent. They don't ever test your accent. They don't go, well, wait, a Chechnyan would do a little bit more.
No, they do. I mean, they do in video games. I mean, I play a big South African character on Titanfall.
South African.
He's Commander Blisk. What are you doing? Get to your Titan pilot.
That's a perfect South African accent.
Thank you very much. And they I mean, thankfully they go,
that's different.
That guy's really, he's got his South African.
Yeah, that's South Africa. That's very tricky. But the Eastern European, they don't. But the Eastern Europe, they don't go, well, Chechnya versus Russia versus Polish.
Well, I do when I'm directing, because we have lots of Eastern European dialects in World of Warcraft, and it's different between Russian, which is much more in the throat and slightly more curly in the vowel sounds. Yes, I would like that very much. Whereas if you're Eastern European, it's much flatter and just a flicked-out like that, like they speak in Prague. It's, you are welcome to Prague, prosim.
That's it.
Dobrý den. Dobrý den. And so that's there are accents are located in different parts of the mouth, and Eastern European is a little more forward, a little flatter in the mouth, and then a flicked-out instead of the liquid kind of big Russian sound, or big liquid sound, and pain of mother country. For Russians, everything is pain of. Could you pass me this salt, please? And a Russian villain will say, "Why are you doing this?
Why you do this to me?
No, I have to remove your finger.
I don't want to have to hurt you, but you're making me.
You make me, force me. I have no choice here."
So you ever come back to merry old England?
Yeah, I'm coming back this summer.
Oh, right.
I'm coming back. My agent last year. Now I've got this really crazy. I'm not. You ask to be busy your whole life, and then you get as crazy as I am now, and you go, "What the hell happened to my life? I used to be able to do things. Now I can't make an appointment with a dentist."
Right.
And so last year, July went a bit quiet, and my agent was like, "Just take July off every year." So now I'm going to try and do that, and try and do a trip with my kid or whatever. Because I'm a single parent as well, juggling, and she lives with me permanently, and it's a lot.
We did this movie 20 years ago. You didn't have a kid, and all of a sudden your kid is now like 19.
Yeah.
So you went away, and then you had a kid.
Yeah.
Bang. Boom.
Yeah. Look at that.
Look at you, and a single father. What does she
Yeah.
do? What does your kid do? Your child?
She's an artist. She's taken a year off and just sort of settling and finding herself for a year after traumatic school, which was tough. She's got some special needs issues, and so that's been a tough break for her. But she's a wonderful kid. Whip smart sense of humor, hopefully.
American kid.
And, yeah.
It's wild, huh?
Yeah, but she's not all bad.
Yeah.
And she wants to design characters and stuff for video games.
For video games. All right. Yeah, that's cool. Well, you can get her in and help her with that.
Well, yeah, I know a couple of people. I know. I'll try.
And your mom.
Listen, this is not the world that we grew up in. This is a very different world for kids.
Oh
now.
yeah.
And they need the help and support. So I bought a place last year up in the mountains above LA, and I'm actually going to be moving there over the summer.
Really?
And yeah, I've built a studio up there. I direct all my stuff from home. I do a lot of my work from home. It's only an hour and a half away, so I can come into town if I need to. But I'm booking out of LA because LA is
that's hard.
It's dirty, dark, and dangerous again. Yeah. It's the homeless problem here is crazy. The prices are through the roof. I mean, I'm successful. I could not buy a house in LA.
Right.
The house that I would want to live in, I'd have to put $300,000 down, and I just don't have it.
Yeah.
So in the mountains, I could buy double the house for less than half the money.
Yeah. Where in the mountains? Big Bear.
Lake Arrowhead.
Arrowhead, nice, yeah, of course. Yeah,
which is smaller and cuter and just prettier.
I love Arrowhead.
The lake's private and it's gorgeous.
Yeah. I know
Arrowhead. So that's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
You not any thoughts about retiring back in Europe, or getting a place here, or settling?
I never even thought about retiring really, because I love working. I love what I do.
I know.
I love you just kind of fall over one day.
Yeah. In the booth on the mic.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, then so there's people around to get me buried. I don't want to lie around and stink for a few days.
See if he finishes. You got to finish the job.
Yeah.
You've got 3 more sentences. No.
Maybe.
Is your mother still with us?
Yeah, she's still there.
Still
We're going to celebrate her 80th.
Nice.
She's only 80.
Up in Yorkshire.
I'm in Yorkshire. We'll do all the family gathering
Head
up
in
Yorkshire.
Yorkshire. Maybe go down to France.
I've got a wedding in Wales, and then I'm going to go and see family in France as well.
Wales are getting married.
Well, he's.
The Welsh.
Rufus is getting married.
Rufus in Wales is getting married.
Yeah, so Rufus is Welsh.
Well,
he
sounds
does very funny impressions of various uncles who are like, "What the bloody hell are you doing? I can't believe that. What are you talking about? Oh, that's fabulous. That is absolutely fabulous." So
amazing talent. Where did you pick up this ear? How did you? Is there some? Do you have some explanation? Music? You're a musical guy.
Yeah, I play the guitar and the piano. I self-taught, and I was a singer, and the impressions, like hearing how things are formed. And accents are. I always thought that accents are a really intrinsic layer in character building. It's really because if you're like we said, if you're Russian, it changes your whole physicality. You're French, you are pushing everything forward and very dismissive.
Yeah.
If you're Italian, you're back in the back of the throat, and you talk like that, and you say no, all of that.
So you just have the ear for it.
And it's all about placement and it's a tool that I want to use to produce character, because character is physical and
fun.
And accents are environmental. They're not just, they're geopolitical. They're subject to atmospheric conditions. Like you live on a mountain or you live in cold. Like if you live in Sheffield, the accent is like a cold, wet cloth hitting the street. It just lands.
Right.
Or Manchester, where it's like, slightly in the nose and there's a bit more kind of galvanized. Or Birmingham, where it's very industrial and you kind of, you get into a different kind of pattern. And so it's they're all very clearly of their own environment. And so it becomes
they are the accents, but the person that's able to hear that and then duplicate it, that's a rare.
Yeah, and remember it all.
Well, remember it, but it's that you've encapsulated that and then can duplicate it back and
there's a ton of things I want to be good at that I'm crap at too. So it's everyone has their thing, I think.
Yeah, they don't pay.
Dialects were always kind of a thing. Yeah, juggling is not.
No, who cares? Yeah, whether you're good at juggling. I know you wanted to be a great juggler, but there's no money in it anyway.
Nah, I tried, but
let's grab a beer when you come to England.
I would love that.
Yeah,
that would be very nice.
How did you become friends with Babson quickly? That's a buddy we had on the show.
When I was, how did I meet Babson? When
He's
I
a
was
great
getting
friend of mine as well, by
divorced,
the way.
yeah, and a very good friend of mine too. When I
No,
was
he's a
getting
better friend of mine. I knew him
no, he's much
first.
better. Well, you've known him much longer than I
Yeah,
have.
thank you.
But then
You
you're
don't know
much
him at
older
all,
than I am.
Jay. Forget it.
That's wrong. I met him once.
Yes, he was on this.
No,
Thank
that's-
you.
Jay wasn't
yes.
on this episode. Jay was
Oh,
away
wasn't I?
working. No, it was me and Babson on our own.
Working? How dare he?
Yeah.
Well, I listened to it, so I feel like I met him.
There you go. You did.
Anyway, let the man speak.
When I was I'd done a play at where had I done a play? I think it was at the Fountain Theatre. I was dialect coaching at the Fountain Theatre, and I met a guy called James O'Neill, who's a wonderful actor, and he was going to be working in New York or something. And when I was divorced, he had a studio apartment in Silver Lake that I could use, and there was his friends Bridget and this friend James, and so I met Babs through that lot, and Babs and I just stayed friends.
Yeah,
we're sort of brunch mates. We're less so now, but we used to do brunch a lot. Yeah, little brunch, little sweet.
You and Babs doing brunch.
Little brunch club. It was
I
cute.
love that.
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice.
Well, it's fun when you make friends in this business, and it doesn't matter where we are located and stuff, but you work with somebody, you get to know them, you make friends, and then you find that they're friends with friends, and going back to that
people, man.
Yeah, and going back to that community thing that you discovered even when you got to RADA was that, like, the working actor is essentially there's something unique about that ilk.
Yeah, or we all know the suffering. We know how hard the job is. We know that to survive it, you've got to have a sense of humor about it. You've got to not take yourself too seriously ever, and retain your sense of humor, because it is the only thing that has helped me survive. And I've been to as I've told you, some very, very dark places. I was lost. And when I met Babs, I was in bits. I mean, I was that community. There were a bunch of them from Carnegie Mellon who took me in basically and made me feel like I had a place again. And I'll never forget that. I'm eternally grateful to them forever, because I was in real trouble. I was in real trouble, emotionally, financially, spiritually. I was a mess. And in my experience, and it's happened probably 2 or 3 times in my life where I've hit that rock bottom, there's people there who will help you, and you've just got to be open to it. And be nice to people, because one day you might need them to help you,
Definitely.
And people have memories. People remember that stuff.
Well, I'm glad we maintained a friendship all these years.
Yeah.
We met and played a lot of poker. Played a lot of poker on the set of Tristan and Isolde on the down times. Late night poker.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good times.
A lot of actors playing Hold'em going on.
Yeah. Well, I know you got to get back to work, because you are a working actor and a director.
Yep. World of Warcraft awaits.
Anything
Dwarves
coming?
and goblins wait.
Dwarves wait for no man. Dwarves and goblins wait for anything coming out. Anybody can come see you. What's the Barry? Is that the one?
Try and catch Barry on HBO. I think it's on Sky Atlantic. I think it's on in the UK. It's a great show. It's lots of fun.
I'll watch it. April 16th. It looks like it just came out. So.
There's 4 seasons, and the season 4 is it's
oh jeez, I'm way behind. All right, if I watch it.
But it's like half-hour episodes. You'll zip through it. It's very good.
Through it. If people watch it like a bunch more than once, do you get more money? If they go,
I don't even know. I don't
work like that.
I don't think it's ever.
Put Barry on a loop at home and send some money.
Yeah, it's 4 men and a dog will watch it. But yeah, that's a good show, and then I've always got stuff coming out game-wise.
Absolutely.
I'm in Apex Legends, which is an ongoing game. There's Arcane Season 2 is coming out, which I may or may not be involved in, and that's an amazing animated series. Which, if you haven't seen, I'm in it briefly, but it's one of the most beautiful things I've ever worked on. It's an extraordinary.
You do a bunch of mocap and stuff too, don't you? Or you have?
Yes, I do, and I direct it now as well. So that's cool. Great, because that's like directing film and theater at the same time. And that's a lot of fun.
Movement.
I just directed it. A couple of years ago. I directed a Call of Duty, as well, which was all PCAP stuff, and then lots of VR.
Did the nerds come after you? Are you hounded by the nerds?
Oh yes,
you must be.
Yeah,
are you like a big hero to the nerds?
I do a lot of convention stuff.
Comic-Con, you go down to Comic-Con.
I do a lot of those things. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
You sign out.
Well, and also it's incredibly humbling, because in the gaming and animation world, a lot of these kids it's the only way they communicate. These are kids that are often
Sure.
socially awkward. A lot of autistic kids. A lot of them. My kid has high functioning autism.
Right.
And there's a lot of people. You know, there's a lot of people for whom this is their entire world, and we do what we do in a little black box and don't really think about how it appears to the world or what the consequences are or what the effect is it has on these people. And people walk up to your table and just burst into tears.
Yeah.
It's very important to them. Or it becomes a therapy session. You know, Vanda was a father figure who, you know, looked after kids. I remember I took my kid we were in England a couple of summers ago, and I took my kid to a convention in Manchester, and I was like, "You sure you want to do this? It's tiring." She's like, "How tiring can it be? You sit there signing autographs. Come on, man."
Yeah.
Little did she know, at the end of the day, she was like, "Oh my God, Dad, I had no idea." Because people are coming up constantly and going, "You know, my dad died when I was 7. You were the father figure I was looking for. I was suicidal. This game saved my life.
Yeah.
You know, Fortnite saved my life. Apex Legends saved my life." You become part therapist, and it is a lot because you feel for these kids, because you've been, you know, we've all been that lost little kid and felt like a social outcast. And it's tough.
And they connect to each other on these games.
This is their life. It's my kid. That was the way she learned to communicate with other people was through a network of games on Minecraft. You know, with friends on Minecraft.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you can't denigrate that stuff. The world is a different place. It's not as easy for these kids to be socially integrated.
Yeah.
And we've identified them, and they've got a calling now, and they have a place. And the video game community is a safe, by and large, safe place. You have to ignore the 12-year-old who's screaming what an a-hole you are because you nerfed something or whatever the hell. But that aside,
go kill yourself.
There's a community there. Oh yeah, there's all that stuff. I mean, there really is.
But you feel the responsibility of that, and
yeah, absolutely. And also the community is really, because it's hard to do this voice acting, for want of a better term. The community is much less backstabby than the on-camera community. It's a mutually supportive community, and if I can't do a job, there's 5 people I'll recommend, and they'll absolutely recommend me. And we are completely free and easy and open about it. That's just the gig. It's hard. And so it's a very supportive group of people, and that just makes you feel good going to work every day.
Yeah.
You know, changes things for you. Whereas, you know, the on-camera stuff can be a little tough. Often you don't know what you're going to get. You're often treated like something that someone trod in on their way to set because you're just the guest star. You've got no information.
Just the guest star.
Yeah, and it's that's how it is.
Yeah.
So.
Is that what you want to leave everybody with?
It's a tough gig. No, I mean, you know, just if you want to do it, know that it's going to be tough, and never, ever, ever quit. Because I did, and I didn't enjoy it. It was awful. It was awful.
That is one
I was
thing.
Very lucky that I got back in.
Momentum. Once you've got it, keep it.
Yeah, and even if you haven't, if it's what you want, don't ever, 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 ever stop. Chase everything and do everything. Do everything you can when you're beginning. Just do everything. Stand on sets. Just watch, learn. If you're not in a scene, don't go back to your trailer. Watch, learn. Watch how that director does it. Watch how that actor does it. See everything you can. That's crucial. You have an enormous capacity for information, and that will always stand you in good stead in terms of when you arrive on that set, you're calm, you're ready, you've seen how it works, and you're not a wreck. That makes a huge difference. You know, it's all the stuff that you do. I'd love to be able to go back and say, you know, that stuff that you're worrying about, that's not the stuff you should be worrying about. There's stuff to worry about, but it isn't how you look and all that shit. That doesn't make any difference. It's more about how you go about it.
If Todd Kramer is out there getting hanged next to a hog, go watch.
Go watch him getting hanged with salacious pleasure on your face.
Don't sit in the trailer and play poker.
The pig was pretty good.
The pig was amazing. That was a real hog that one of them had, and that was rotting, and
we used it a couple of times because we used it in a couple of hunting scenes too. That hog.
Yeah, that was
enormous, I remember.
That was massive.
It was a wild boar.
Wild boar that they literally strung me up next to.
I've got to run, or I'm going to be strung up.
JB Blanc.
You guys were fantastic. Thank you so much. I hope I didn't waffle on too much.
No, amazing. We'll be in touch. Thanks, buddy.
Lovely to see you. Lovely to meet you, Jay.
Lovely.
Sorry about you know who. But,
yeah, I know. Thank you.
He's kind of the host. So, all right. That's enough of. Oh yeah. In case you got confused, I know Jay likes to think he's the host, but. All right, buddy, go to work.
Thank you guys.
We'll talk
Take
to you
care.
soon. Bye.
Much love. See ya.
Cheers.
There
wow.
we are.
Prolific. Prolific is the word of the day.
That is the word of the day. You said that at the beginning, and it was even more accurate than I realized.
No, you believe me, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I prolifically believe you.
Yeah, you were into that interview. I could tell.
I was, except for the times where my internet was going out, and I don't know what to do about it, but whatever.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's fine. I could hear everything. So
yeah,
it's important. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That was I don't know. You can't see on the screen. When he first came on, and he started talking about like his story and like growing up. I almost had tears. Like my eyes were bloodshot red. And he was talking about finding his people and belonging. I was like legitimately he just came on and started making me cry, and I was like, who is this person? What?
I make you cry all the time, and you don't have that reaction?
Yeah, you make me cry because of your salty words. You put salt on my
I abuse you, and then you cry. Is that not the same thing? You're talking about something else. Okay.
We must be talking
No, he did open up, and it was nice. I mean, I didn't want, we don't want to open every closet. Every have all the ghosts from all three of us coming screaming out. But
oh God, a haunted podcast.
Yeah, but I definitely felt where he was coming from and could relate. But I think maybe for audiences especially, there is something. It's hard to meet an actor or performer that doesn't have a reason for having found this and stuck with it and and used it to their benefit more than just whatever financially. If you can make a living, God bless you. But
God bless you.
As a means of sort of discovering things and coming to terms and grips with things and breaking out of comfort zones and breaking out of past experiences. That may have been unpleasant childhood things, and
what did he say? He was like, everyone just is an actor because they didn't want to be themselves, and I like literally my eyes started burning red.
Yeah, that was with that mango quartz. You still wearing that thing?
I am still wearing that thing, if you can even see it through the crap internet.
And the Jay was like, "That's me, the new thing,
the thing that is unknown,
unknown, and brand new discovery, unknown." And I thought, that's Jay in a nutshell. Jay is Jay,
a brand new Jay, which is
brand new. That's a brand new Jay. Find Jay on Instagram at a brand new Jay.
Am I gonna go in the links today? Oh, this is exciting. Okay. Sorry, I'm spoiling again. I'm spoiling.
That's our show, folks. Thank you for watching, listening, enjoying, being part of it. Thank you to JB Blanc.
Thank you.
J. Reum.
Oh, thank me.
Thanks to Boy Andy at readdigital.com for all your podcasting needs. Check him out. And we'll see you next time on the Offstage Acting Podcast.
And thank you, Todd Kramer.
Oh, isn't that sweet? I don't deserve it. JB Blanc. Prolific, proficient, passionate, professional, and probably a plethora of other P's as well. For more information about acting, go to offstageacting.com. Like, subscribe, comment, and we'll see you next time on the Offstage Acting Podcast.